2020 has been a crazy year in the wedding industry. So with me now, I have Sean Willcoxon, the VP of Catering from Mazzone Hospitality, which Mazzone is a name synonymous with events and hospitality in the Capital District. So many events, and I'm very excited to hear what Sean has to say about 2020 and 2021. And we also have KDO, amazing wedding planner, but also recent new owner-operator of the Kenmore Ballroom, which is where we're at right now. We have a wedding that was scheduled for August of 2020 that is now August of 2021. So what I wanted to do is just have a discussion. There are so many couples out there that have their weddings planned for maybe as early as a few months from now, but as far out as like August or September, that are questioning what they should do. And now, when 2020 hit, we didn't have this. We didn't have the ability to talk about the future and what's going to happen. But first, before we get going about talking about advice for the future, which is the point of this, let's talk about what you guys have seen in 2020. So as a planner, Katie, what have you seen? Because nobody is closer than a planner as it comes to feeling the emotions of your couples.
Absolutely, and I think I can honestly say we've seen it all. We really have. On March 16th, we went from kind of like beast mode, right? It was like, this is happening. We have to move all these weddings. We have to accommodate our couples. We have to find the perfect matrix so all their vendors are still available, the caterer, the venue. And it was just nonstop for 48 hours of picking up all of these pieces of business and all of our couples' dreams and moving them and feeling like, okay, we can breathe. And then as time went on, we got kind of comfortable and okay, this is going to be good. We have this time between now and then we hit the other wave of, wait, are we still thinking? Now there's more restrictions. What's next?
I remember thinking that, I remember thinking this is 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we actually furloughed staff and talked to them about, you'll be back in a couple weeks. Before you even know it, it's actually good to have some time off. Use this as a positive time to catch up on life.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw the same thing from a standpoint of when it first started. Our initial thought was to, we're going to run out of dates in 2020. We're going to run out of dates in the summertime. We're going to run out of dates in the spring. We're going to run out of dates in the fall. How are we going to do this? Is going to be one of the hardest spring, summer, fall seasons we've ever seen, because all of these people that are now moving from March, April, and May have to fit into June through October, and how are we going to do that? And I remember picking up the phone, calling rental companies saying, I know that people are going to sell out because we're going to try to fit so much into so little. That do you have spare? What do you have? Let's stay on target. When can we transition? And then that range of emotion just continued on and continued on and continued on. And where, we went through a season of 8 weeks solid of every day, significant changes. And then, gladly it slowed down a little bit, but here we are today talking about, what did we see? And what the greatest thing that I can say in the positives is that we weren't closed this summer. We were open this summer. We were open this summer in a totally different way than we ever thought we'd be open this summer. But a positive to go with was we were open this summer.
Well, let's talk about that. What positives did you see?
And I love that Sean said that, because I think that I think about the summer, and as we turn the corner on winter, as vendors in the industry, we all kind of get a little bit, winter's a nice break, but we also miss it, right? Yeah. So the summer was awesome because, albeit we didn't have the 20-something or 30, close to 30 weddings we had originally planned, we had 6 of the most beautiful, intimate, reimagined celebrations for our couples that made us feel like we were in it again.
The feeling of excitement, that's for sure.
waking up that day and knowing you got a wedding that day.
Absolutely.
I remember you, when we spoke on the phone, you specifically talked about one that you had that was a Thursday or something like that, right?
Yes, we had a couple, actually an industry friend that was getting married, and they were originally set for June of 2020, and then we went back and forth with dates and changing dates and when is it going to happen, and they were at 80 people originally, so it was a smaller wedding to begin with.
I love that 80 people is a small wedding. Prior to COVID, 80 people was a small wedding.
Right? It's our mindset has definitely changed. changed. And they revisited and rethought about what would work for them, and they decided a Thursday in October.
Yeah.
Based on the restrictions that were in front of them. They said, you know what, we're gonna make the best with what we have to work with.
Yeah.
And we reimagined the wedding, and it was this beautiful, intimate affair for 23 people that was meaningful, special, and still felt like a celebration.
Yeah. I feel like the fall was much more positive than I had originally anticipated it to be. You know, it was like the spring, there was a lot of dread and frustration and really frustrated couples. And then summer was like, okay, things, when did it open back up where you were able to do like a dozen people or something like that?
You were like in the middle to late May. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Middle to late May, as we were entering to June, is when we started to get the phases, where the phases started to be the phases of reopening. Phase 1, phase 2. Our industry and catering wasn't even a part of phase 1.
Yeah.
And then in phase 2, I think we went to 10 people, then 25, and then that's when we finished at phase 4, which was 50, which we're essentially still in right now, you know, for public gatherings and public spaces.
I gotta say, I absolutely loved my fall. I had a blast. It was very intimate. They were all intimate weddings. And the challenge is that those couples that moved their wedding dates to next year, there was no way they could have known what could have been possible. Because like most of our October that moved in like June or July. Because that was the biggest frustration that I saw, more so than anything else, was the not knowing
What you could have.
Sitting there and having all of these guests that are asking you all these questions. What are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? And the bride wants to do this. The mom wants to do this. And some people eventually are just like, I can't live like this. I'm just postponing to next year because I just can't live with not knowing. The reality is that Cuomo could change something, and 2 days before your wedding, it could suddenly change.
One of the best, I think, pieces of advice, and we have been everything to our clients, I feel like we've been a psychologist, we've been a planner, we've been a friend, we've been a referee. I think it's going to the core of what you're doing this for. Okay. And we've encouraged our couples, when we're having the hard discussions, you know, step away from this. Pour yourselves a glass of wine, look at each other. Remember why you're here and what you're doing, and look at each other and be like, what do we see? When we want to say our marriage vows, what does that look like? If it can't look like what we wanted it to and we thought it was going to be, what is that, and what is going to make us happy and still make us feel like it's a celebration?
So I feel like based on that, I feel like most of our couples, you could categorize into 3 groups as far as the options that they chose. And so for the future of this discussion, we're going to talk about 3 options. There are other options, and nothing really fits perfectly into this, but for argument's sake, most of our couples picked one of these 3. Option number 1, our wedding is our wedding day, and I have envisioned this day since I was a little kid, and I'm not wearing a mask in that vision. So, and I have everybody around me, and especially if you envision that 200-person massive event, this first option that some people chose was, you know what, if I have to wear a freaking mask at my wedding, then I'm just going to postpone. So that's option number 1 is that, you know what, we're going to push back to 21. And now those people who are in 21 are probably watching this right now questioning, am I safe with my date in 21? And we'll get to that in a second. Option number 2 was similar in saying that, you know what, I still want to have a party. I still want to do the wedding that we wanted to do, but I don't want to wait another year to be married. I don't want to wait another year. So option number 2, we're going to say is kind of a hybrid, where an intimate ceremony, where they still want their day that they eventually have in 21 to be special, but they're going to do an intimate wedding. And of the weddings that we did this summer, half of them were this grouping, where we're still on the books, they're still planning a full reception for 21, but they did an intimate ceremony this year in 2020. And then group number 3, I would say, is you know what, F COVID. This is my day. That day is my day. And if it's just me and my fiance, we're walking down the aisle. In fact, I got to share this one story. So Taylor, I had a lot of Taylors this summer. There was a lot of Taylors. This is Taylor, who's getting married in December. So she isn't married yet. Taylor and Jimmy, and we just had their December 12th is their wedding date. We just had their final call just to talk about things, and she said this was literally what she said, is she said, so long as Jimmy is there and my dog is there and we get married, that's all that matters. And thankfully, there was question about which one was first.
Yeah, right. She had to think about it.
She did.
She did. It sounds like she had to think about it.
She did. And Jimmy.
Jimmy probably understands that she had to think about it.
Yeah, Ragnar is their dog. Ragnar actually, in most situations, comes before. And that one's at, well, I'm not going to give that many details because I've already said their names and their date. I'm not going to tell you where their venue is. So those seem to be the three categories. Would you guys say that most of your couples fall into one of those?
Definitely.
Options?
Definitely, yeah.
So now the question is, where are we at? So, Sean, where are things at right now for those couples that, like Taylor, who's getting married in December? What do you feel like the climate is like in the hospitality industry? I can talk in the hospitality industry.
The bottom line is, and the fact and the truthfulness is, every day is a new day. Yeah. And if there's one thing that we all thought about in those first 2 weeks, starting in March, was that every one of us had a crystal ball. We all spoke on the phone that said, "What do you think? What do you think?" I thought I knew everything, and I was the expert. And what we realized is that we really don't know anything. What we know now is that we live in a really, really great country that's going to figure this thing out. But we don't know time, we don't know place, we don't know date. And even as we figure this thing out, we don't know what the transition of being back to what the new normal will be. So, the biggest thing that I think in the state of the hospitality industry is that we're adapting every single day to whatever we need to adapt to. We are following all of the rules because as much as sometimes you want to take the rules and say, screw the rules, you understand that the rules are there and put in place for us to get through this and get out of it. Yeah. And so as much as we want to say, like, if this was my daughter and I'm not in that position, I'm not the father of the bride and it's not my daughter's wedding, but if I would want to say enough of it, I want a wedding and this is the way I want it and this is the way I'm going to do it. We have, as professionals, have to say, but it's not the best. It's not the right decision. But adapting to what we have now, and going back to what you said, Katie, is really understanding what it's about. And what is it that's most important to you? We've had some clients that said, that's it, we're going to 2021, I want it to look like this, and then came back and said, you know what, they moved into group 2. Because they said, but really, I want to be married. I want to be married. Why am I going to wait to be married? We can have a party, but I want to be married. And those couples came back, and what we realized is those that adapted and those that accepted the situation that they were in the fact that they couldn't control everything, and came to peace with that, that they weren't in control with everything. Every event that we did with those customers came back with, I cannot believe how special that event was. And that feeling of special, we were talking previous, to getting on the camera about how, an intimate group for 12 people became what, in the letters of thankfulness and talking to the parents and the bride when after the event that they said, I never would have thought I could laugh that hard and smile that much and enjoy a 3-day period so much. It was different than I ever could have managed, and it was better. Because they just went to peace with, it's going to be 12 of us. They were going to have a huge wedding, but it's going to be 12 of us. They spent a weekend together in Lake Placid and had the most incredible time. The joy that came off of them, it was infectious. It was simply infectious. And we got to enhance everything about those 12 people because it was only 12 people. We weren't worrying about corralling hundreds or getting people on vans or anything like that. We were worried about focusing on those 12. And so, the answer to your question is we have no idea where the hospitality industry is. We know that every day we're going to wake up, we're going to go to work, and we're going to adapt to what is delivered to us that day. And we're going to make whatever it is that we're doing on that given day special. And that's all we can do. And every single day we'll watch, we'll learn, we'll be students of this thing, and we will be ready. But I think coming to peace with accepting that we're not in control right now is the most important thing. And that's probably the hardest thing for anybody to say, I'm not in control.
That is a very hard thing for anybody to say, definitely, is to say that I'm not in control. It's well said, Sean. Well said. So in not knowing what the future looks like, I guess you said it, both of you have now said it, that the real question is for couples to sit down and say, what is truly important to us? And I know there are couples out there that for them, the wedding really is about that party. It is about having all of those people together. And so I guess what we should do now is just say, okay, well, what advice would we specifically give to those couples that are planning for, let's say, the next 4 months or so? We're not yet into spring, summer, we're in the winter section of time. What would you say to those couples? Katie, you deal with so many couples. What advice would you give?
I think you have to set your expectations. So you have to, right now, this is a very busy time for everyone, emotional time for everyone. The holidays are approaching. There's restrictions on what that can be as a family gathering, let alone a celebration like a wedding. Yeah. So I think that you need to be prepared to either conduct your wedding under the restrictions that are current restrictions. Yep. Be accepting of that and figure out a way to adapt to make it exactly what you want it to be under those terms, right? Don't try to pretend it's something it's not right now, because today, as Sean said, we got up today and the rules are still the rules. Yeah. So let's create something magical and beautiful that you're going to be excited about. Anybody past that date, it's with an abundance, anyone past that date, it's with an abundance of caution, I feel, that you still plan for 200 or more people. Yeah. I think we have to be realistic and be comfortable with, I'm gonna have my wedding in 2021. I'm gonna be okay with it on the date I've moved it from to, and if it has to be different, it can be, and we'll still celebrate and it'll be great. And worry about what happens after that, after you get through that date.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. I reached out to all of my couples that got married this summer and asked them, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to couples who are in the process of planning the wedding? And it was neat getting the feedback from these different couples to get it from their perspective, because they aren't wedding planners, but they are all people who have gone through it. And not one of them regretted the decision that they made. They all are elated, but as you said, Sean, the small little intimate weddings, they didn't realize how special they could be. And the thing that I have found, which is reiterating what these two have said, is just that if you have an open expectation of knowing that you can't control it, but that at the end of this day we're going to be married, you can find peace with that, and you can find excitement with that. I would love to read off, but I just don't have time to read off the feedback that most of these couples have given. The resounding one that was said over and over again is that this is your day, and don't let it be about the family or the group of friends or anybody else. This is your specific day, so make it what you want to be. Make it what you want it to be. And if you do want to postpone it to make sure that it's the exact wedding that you want to have, then would you guys advise to have like a go, no-go date at which point you're going to postpone it?
Absolutely. I think you have to set that. We did it in 2020 for 2021. I think that mentally it just gives you a stepping stone of like, okay, what's next once we figure this out? I think that clients or couples have to be aware too that those 2020 couples who've moved to 2021, if they have to move to 2022, no one likes to talk about it, but contracts were signed and deposits were made and money does play a big role. And I think everyone needs to be aware that everybody is affected by this pandemic in a different way, and it's not your vendor's fault, it's not the venue's fault, we're all in this together, and we have to figure out a way to accommodate and that everybody wins, so to speak. Yeah. So have an open conversation with your vendors, talk to them about it, explain to them what you're thinking and your process of picking a new date or minimizing or time, editing the time of the day or whatever it is, but just don't do it in a vacuum, communicate. Yeah.
And just to play off of that, I think one of the most important things too is to understand that as vendors, standing next to two of the best vendors, in the market, and understanding that there's so many other incredible vendors in the market, is that understand that as each and every one of you is out there, whether you work at home, whether you work in a business, you're the experts of what you do. Well, in our businesses, we're the experts of what we do, so we're the students of what we do. So ask your vendors, what do you think? What are the capabilities? Make sure that you understand what the actual rules are in the moment. We've had so many people that come to us or pick up the phone and say, no, we can do that. And we say, no, unfortunately you can't. And then other people call us up and say, well, we can't do that. We say, no, actually, you can. So really making sure that you understand, picking a date, and then going back to this. I come from a big Italian family, and the biggest fear in a big Italian family is, well, I can't have my wedding without this aunt or this uncle or this cousin or this third friend that is very close to us, so we call them a cousin, and they're going to be really mad if they don't get invited to the wedding. They all get it now. And that's the thing that I think is the most important, is that if you need to do what you need to do, plan time to celebrate with those family members that might not be able to be at the wedding, but understand that it's your wedding. And it's the most important people to have around are the people that you say are the most important people around, not what everybody else thinks.
I would even go so far as to be bold and say, if you have a family member that doesn't get that, maybe you shouldn't invite them.
Yeah, they were on the C list, but you put them on the A list. It kind of happened that way.
Maybe it's a good thing. And maybe even after the restrictions lift, you can say, I'm sorry, this one venue, you didn't make the cut.
I don't know, they wouldn't let you have it. But definitely, from a planning aspect is that anybody after, from April and beyond, I think still has to keep an open mind.
Yeah.
We're not, you started with, the 1, 2, and the 3 of these couples.
Yeah.
Those that are in number 1 that cannot handle I'm not going to be able to control exactly what my day looks, let it go to 22 at this point. Just let it go now. Let that piece off your chest, because let it go now. You talk to your vendor, see what you're going to have to do to make decisions, get new pricing or whatever it's going to take, but let it go. But those that are in the 2 and the 3 group that have that, ability to say, what, I'll think about this, let it go for right now. We're in a season right now where winter is coming. We're getting into the holidays, like you said. There's big concern from the government side about people gathering. And so there's fear. Yes. But at the same token, when that fear realizes we're going to have these, incredible people in America that are working to make it better, that might have the opportunity to give really great news. Yeah. And in April, we might have really great news. So get through the holidays, don't make rash decisions, and then from there, maybe make decisions. Unless you're in group 1. If you're in group 1, let it go right now. Because it's going to make your life a lot better.
I couldn't agree more. Yes. Team, let it go.
Let it go.
Well, thank you guys very much. I really appreciate it. And I hope that this has been helpful for you out there that are watching this. My last word is simply that your wedding is supposed to be a magical and amazing day in your life. And there's no reason why it can't be. It's all about your attitude towards it. Life throws you curveballs all the time. And so I think that you need to make sure you keep in mind that the reason why you're getting married is the reason why you're getting married, and just roll with the punches, whatever they are. But that joy and that excitement that should be there on your wedding day can still be there. Don't let all the crap that's going on with the pandemic and everything else make you think that you can't have that special day. There are amazing vendors in this industry that want so badly to help you be able to experience that. So have joy, have excitement, make the day special in a new way. I feel like I'm selling something.
Well, if you are, you did a really good job. I'm totally buying it.
You're selling the love, Dave. You're selling the love.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you very much,
Sean.
Thank you for bringing us together.
Thank
and
you.
if you have the opportunity, you got to come check out the Kenmore Ballroom. This is a beautiful new venue right downtown Albany. It has, is it open catering, or there's specific list of
Preferred. We have a list of preferred
catering. I assume Mazzone's on the list,
They
right?
made the list.
This is pretty awkward.
Totally awkward.
Totally awkward if they weren't on the
Unless
list.
you were to bringing today on camera to tell me that we're not preferred, it would be really awkward.
So come and check out the Kenmore Ballroom, and thank you so much for watching this, and truly make your day a special one.